Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Hey, welcome to New Life Live. It is so good to have you listening and watching today. My name is Brian Perez, and we're going to be taking calls for the next 2 hours. So whatever it is you're struggling with, whether it's your marriage or your relationship to your children, be they little kids, grown kids, grandkids, we'd love to help you with that. If you're contemplating divorce, if you're struggling with boundaries, let us try to help you with that. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call. And here to help you today, we've got clinical psychologist Dr. Alice Benton. How are you, Alice?
Well, it's my birthday. So
it's your birthday.
I'm having a great day so far.
Happy birthday, Alice. And Becky Brown's joining us too. She's a licensed professional clinical counselor and the president of New Life. Hi there, Becky.
Hi, Brian. Happy birthday, Alice.
Thanks,
I'm
Beck.
Celebrating God's chosen day for you.
Woo-hoo.
We're grateful that you were born.
Yes,
and
indeed.
what a great way to spend your birthday, helping other people. That's what we're going to do today. I'm sure you're going to ask me, Brian, what's on my mind, because this is what we do at the first part of the show.
That's right.
And, you know, I've been thinking about, I listen to the program even when I'm not on. I know many of you are surprised at that. Maybe you aren't. I learn something all the time, but one of the things that I identify so closely with is the number of caregivers that call us. And I'm not just talking about people who are caring for aging parents. I'm talking about people who are caregiving a loved one who's struggling with addiction. Yesterday we had a call from a mom whose son is having a psychiatric emergency and due to losing one of her other children by death. I mean, it's just, we have people in our lives that we love who struggle, and we want to help. And yet it can be so overwhelming when it doesn't go quickly, like when we don't have an answer right away. And this I identify with only because of my own journey. Many of you know my adult son, our adult son, has intellectual disabilities. And so life with him has been a journey. Everything from IEP meetings at school, where, you know, your phone is going off all the time, come and help, or what do we need to do, to doctor's appointments, and just really wanting him to thrive. And I work with a lot of parents who are struggling with, what does the future look like? But you know what? Those same experiences happen with folks who have a loved one who struggle with addiction. You want the best for them. You want them to experience all that God has for them, and you feel like you have to come up with all the answers. Well, I'm here to tell you, the first step you have to do is take care of you. And that's very easy to say, and it's very hard to do, because many of us have been so sucked into the vortex that we don't realize how much we are doing or how much is impacting us. And so, you know, just remember this acrostic, okay? Physical, emotional, spiritual, and mental. In each of those areas of your life, if you can move towards some healing for you, and I know that's very easy to say, very difficult to do. It could be as easy as, for your physical, getting good sleep. Could be taking a walk around the block. It could be for your emotional, that you seek support for you. Many times in caregiving situations, we're really focused on what help do they need? What doctors do they need to see? How do I make this happen? And then mental is, how am I organizing my life? Again, you're caregiving for someone else, but if you're not in a good place, it's going to be really hard to have a perspective. And of course, spiritual, I just want to say, God is bigger than any problem that you face today. And when you get discouraged and you think that you're not going to have an answer, God's got an answer. And He loves your loved one more than you do, believe it or not. And I just want to encourage you today, if you are in need of support because you're caring for someone, it may surprise you that that's what you're doing. But call us. We can get you connected. And I'm here to champion you on that you're doing a good work. You're making a difference.
That is so good. Becky Brown, thank you very much for opening our program with those words. And we're going to be taking your calls for 2 hours today. Grab an open line. 1-800-229-3000 is our number. We'll talk to you soon.
Restore gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, May 2nd through the 4th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're going to be taking your calls for 2 hours today, but if you can't call in for whatever reason, we've got another way that you can submit your question. Go online to newlife.com/radio, and you'll see how to submit a voicemail question or an email question. Again, that's at newlife.com/radio, but we'd prefer to hear the sound of your voice, so call us up at 1-800-229-3000. That being said, we do have one of those submitted questions. This is from Walter, who happens to be a Club New Life member. Thank you, Walter, for being a Club New Life member. Walter writes, I'm a born-again Christian. My oldest daughter passed away September 15th, 2020, and I miss her. She enjoyed morning coffee, as do I. I was going to her grave nearly every day and would say a few words about her, then pour coffee on her grave in her memory. I'm not trying to commune with the dead or offer her the coffee, says Walter. I know she's with the Lord, but am I scripturally doing anything wrong? That is Walter's main question. Alice, what do you say to Walter?
Walter, I would want to know where that comes from in your mind that you're worried about doing something wrong, where the source of the message comes from. It's good to wonder and to ask because we want to stay in alignment with God's will, and we fall out of it all the time. But I would have you think back to who perhaps held that message in a very heavy way over your head, that you have to do things right or else there'd be a scary consequence. Just because you're asking the question, it comes from somewhere, so consider that. Now, I do believe that the Bible does tell us not to consult the dead. I think that comes from Deuteronomy chapter 18. But I think that's specifically consulting with the dead in order to get answers and in order to get information. I come from a Catholic background where we believed in purgatory. And so we prayed for the dead. We prayed that they'd be released from purgatory to heaven. As I moved into a Christian approach versus my Catholic upbringing, I've distanced myself from praying for the dead. I've distanced myself from even trying to speak to my passed away loved ones. So I think it's good that you're being cautious about that because I do believe it's something God wants to protect us from getting too involved in because we can get sucked in to things like Saul did, trying to actually get information from the dead in order to help him win a war. And God was obviously strongly against that. It seems to me that what you're doing is more of a way for you to comfort yourself and honor the memory of your daughter. So I don't think it's a bad thing. What I would challenge you to do, Walter, is to talk with other people who also loved her as an additional way to both mourn what you have lost and celebrate the good you had with her.
Becky, what do you think?
You know, grief rituals are so personal. And I think, Walter, this is what's happening, is that you've created this ritual to honor her, to keep her memory alive, which is, you know, when we lose someone we love, we will grieve deeply because we miss them. We feel that pain. Because of the amount of time that it's been 5 years now, I think you might be stuck. And I'm not saying, you know, there's no judgment here because grief has its own timeline for everybody. But the fact that you're asking the question, now you're asking it in a spiritual realm as opposed to, is this the best way for me to go on with my life? It is so hard to say goodbye to our loved ones, and especially a child. It's one of the hardest things to grieve. And so I want to encourage you to be part of a grief group, to be able to share those feelings. You're gonna find that grief is this thing that we all will experience, but we all experience it in a very unique way. But I would say it may be time for you to move in a different direction. Not that you can't ever do this again. It's just because you're bringing the question up, you recognize there's something that just doesn't sit well. And I can't imagine, if you do this for 5 more years or, and I don't know how close the gravesite is to your house or if you're working or any of that kind of stuff. But I know that you're alone when you're doing it. And what I want you to do is I want you to have community and I want you to have connection.
Becky, that's a good point. It may have become an obsession that now is sort of a rigid practice that could be taking too many other opportunities away from Walter, where God wants him to keep on living his life. His daughter would probably want that for him too. So to free himself from how rigid and consistent the practice is opens him up to other more life-giving things that God might be calling him to do.
Right. And to that point, Alice, we can get into these rhythms and we build these neural pathways and then it becomes, I have to do this. I don't have an option. And I always say to people who I sit with in grief, I will say they would want you to go on with your life, to enjoy your life, and you can honor them with your life. And you can do all kinds of things to bring joy to their name. But a lot of times in grief, we die with the person who has passed because we get stuck, in that pain, and it's understandable. But we want to continue to move on. And you know what? I'm wondering, Walter, maybe think about connecting with a group. We get you connected. We have life recovery groups that work through grief. We have our New Life courses. We're going to start those again. But I just really want you to be moving in that direction. And if you're looking for a book, Brian, I would send him the Life Recovery Workbook on Grief.
One last idea. Walter, think about something your daughter loved. Was it pets? Was it children? Was it nature? And make an investment there, whether it's a monetary investment or you start volunteering and showing up in your daughter's honor and in her name in order to spread the joy that she had in life. That would be life-giving.
Walter, thank you for sending in your question online to us at newlife.com/radio. Now let's go to the phones. 1-800-229-3000 is the number, and we're going to begin with Susie in Philadelphia, listening on WBYN. Hi there, Susie. Welcome to New Life Live.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for taking my call. I listen to your show, and I've never called before, so I really appreciate it. So,
welcome, Susie.
So I'm calling about my daughter. She's married to a narcissist, and she's married now for 7 years. And she calls me crying because he is just so awful to her. And it breaks my heart, and I don't know what to say to her or what to do.
Susie, would you say a little about how he treats her? Is it verbal, physical? What happens?
It's verbal, and I guess he just puts her down and just, just makes her feel like nothing, and he doesn't respect her in any way, her opinion or what she does, and she does absolutely everything for the household, and they have 2 children and for the children. So he's just, and it kicks up more around the holidays and when he is at our house, when he's, when they visit us, which is kind of often. So I don't know where,
Susie, has he been diagnosed as a narcissist, or is this just what you are experiencing?
So my daughter goes to counseling, and per the counselor, with what she says and how she explains him to her counselor, yes, he's been diagnosed that way as a narcissist.
Okay, so the reason why I asked that is because it's very important to not diagnose outside of the office. And, we talk about this in professional world because it's your daughter's report. Now, I'm not disqualifying what she's reporting to the counselor, but there are nuances with narcissism that are very important. He could be experiencing dysregulation. You talked about, when he travels around the holidays, it really flares up. And narcissism doesn't always come off as somebody who's mean and brutal. you do have that experience from time to time, but it always, no matter what way it displays itself, it always comes from a deep wound. And we know this. And so, I just wonder, they've been married 7 years, and then I'm sure there were years of dating before then, right, Susie?
Yes.
Did you ever see anything like this when they were dating?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, that's a challenge.
So this is not a change in his behavior after some difficult event, at least not in the time that you have known him, Susie.
Correct. I believe a lot of this behavior stems from his childhood. And the environment that he was brought up in.
So facing this kind of mistreatment, there are usually two levels to it. One is to attempt to explore the hurt behind his anger that comes out at your daughter. But people are not always willing to reveal that hurt or to talk about it. But we know that for someone who has an attachment style that we call a vacillator or a controller, either one may fit for your son-in-law. When they're mad, they're usually hurt or frightened underneath the mad. And so for your daughter to start wondering and asking, you seem angry, husband. I wonder if you're hurt. I wonder if you're scared. And if you would tell me. It doesn't usually work the first time you ask because it can actually enhance the anger. So this is a long-term, not a short-term plan. So you can't expect success early on. The question should also be asked when he's calmer and more likely to answer it when the problem is not happening. And boundaries is the other part. So it's compassion and seeking to understand, but the other one is boundaries for self-protection. That starts with something very simple, but not at all easy to do, which is letting him know, again, when he's not doing it. Husband, if you start to raise your voice or have an intensity about you when you're talking to me, I'm going to warn you. And if you can't stop, I'm going to leave the room. I'm doing this because I want to protect our bond and protect our home. And then to actually practice it. Now, usually it's very hard for a person to put that into practice because it's terrifying. How will he respond? Will he escalate? And there's a risk to doing it. And so your daughter probably needs a group of women who can understand her and with whom she can practice this in order to be able to practice it with her husband. And our New Life groups that we have, New Life recovery groups, are just an ideal place to be able to practice that.
Susie, I also think about the hard, this is kind of what I opened the show with, how that impacts you. Because when he's at your house, how do you interact with him? How does he act around you?
Yeah, it's very awkward and he's very standoffish because he does not like us. I try to be inclusive with him and have some patience, I don't even know what the word is, for him because I realize it's not, it must be hard to be like that. My husband has zero tolerance. My husband has zero tolerance for him, and actually at this point doesn't even want to be near him anymore. But again, I say to him, what we do for our daughter and the grandkids is not for him. It's for the grandkids and the daughter.
Have they ever gone to couples counseling, Susie?
They have. They've gone, and of course, he goes a couple times, and then there's always a reason not to go back.
Yeah. Does he recognize that there's a problem?
You know what? He knows that. I think he does, and he behaves for a while, and then he gets really bad. And she's actually she's already filed divorce papers to get his attention because there was no way. There was the counseling, and he wouldn't go, and there was just she didn't know what to do. So that did get his attention, and he did.
Our intimacy and marriage intensive would be great for them. He's scared, just like what Alice said. He's got this wound, and he's standoffish because he is flooded by all the things coming at him, and he's going to fight. Then you feel shame because you're fighting. It is this cycle that they get into, and he's all prickly, so nobody can really love him the way that he needs to be loved. Now, I'm not giving him an excuse, Susie. Don't hear that. That's not what I'm saying. All behavior can be explained if you can get underneath the behavior. And he's had this you recognize that his family of origin was rough, and he doesn't know how to do relationship. I mean, it's obvious. And so then he becomes the bad guy, and I don't know what his home life was like. And I know sometimes it's like, Becky, you're being too nice to them. No, you got to understand. And for the kids involved here, we want their home to be healthy. We want this to change for everybody. And I would love for them to go to the Intimacy and Marriage. We're going to be in DC in July. It could be the game changer for their life, for their kids, divorce or no divorce. You know, I would love to see them there.
I do want her to be cautious about threatening an empty threat of divorce versus choosing a therapeutic separation. And I'll explain that more.
Okay, sounds good.
Good point.
Susie, don't hang up. We've got some more to say to you and to everyone else who wants to call in today. Maybe you're like Susie and you're a longtime listener and you've never called in before, but there's something that you really need to talk to someone about. Well, we've got two people here who can really help you today, Dr. Alice Benton and Becky Brown, and we're taking calls for 2 hours. So call us. 1-800-229-3000 is our number. Again, 1-800-229-3000.
We've been married 33 years. We attended the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop. Even though we've read books or attended a few other marriage weekends, this was certainly different and a lot more intensive than initially that we thought.
When you come to Intimacy and Marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process.
Was not really sure exactly what to expect, but the idea of learning to really understand intimacy was intriguing. We had been in the same patterns of struggle over and over again.
If you've thought, I don't think we can ever change, we're just in this rut and we can't get out, the Intimacy and Marriage Workshop can help you get out of the rut.
The Intimacy and Marriage Weekend is July 25th to the 27th in Washington, D.C. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
I would highly recommend it.
Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
And let's continue our conversation with Susie, who's calling in from Philadelphia. And Dr. Alice Benton mentioned something just before the break that was interesting.
Susie, it's good and powerful that the threat of divorce caught his attention. The reason I bring up therapeutic separation is because if your daughter does not intend to divorce him and she just grabs his attention, but there may not be a structured plan of follow-through, then that kind of threat quickly loses its power, and he may not believe her when she threatens other things in the future. A therapeutic separation is when she chooses increasing levels of distance from him, letting him know, I am purposefully doing this to try to save our relationship, to try to save our bond. But I'm going to keep moving away until I see that you're willing to get help, ongoing, consistent help. Then I can stop distancing myself from you. It can start with just asking him to move out of the bedroom, or she sleeps in a different room. It can move up to living separately. It can go to a divorce eventually if it has to. But that's certainly something we want to avoid because of the major destruction it causes to the whole family and to the kids. It's sometimes a necessary evil, divorces. But if we can do anything to save from going that direction, we want to. So if your daughter hasn't already thought about that, have her talk with her counselor. She might also consider having an interventionist. I understand why your husband would completely shut down to your son-in-law. It's a way for him to protect himself and to protest, to take a stand against. But what an interventionist does is help an entire family to combine what we're talking about, grace, love, and tough truth, and present all of that combined to your son-in-law to say, our whole family may have to start distancing, which we don't want to do because we love you, we care about you, we want this to be better, but we need you to get help. If you won't get help, then all of us have to take different action to protect ourselves and our households, but we want you to choose us and we want you to choose help.
So can I say one more thing?
Of course you
Since
can.
we're all piling on. Susie, listen, your son-in-law is in pain, okay? Your daughter is in pain. The kids are in pain. Mm-hmm. And the answer won't be to figure him out so then we're all happy. It will be your daughter's going to need recovery work. He's going to need, it's really a family affair. And because it's affecting everyone, and it's sad. I mean, I know you feel that. You're calling for her. You want her to, have some relief. And so I just want you to keep that in mind. And, and again, I would like for them to go to the Intimacy and Marriage Intensive. It can make a difference. And if they will do, the therapy that we're talking about for couples is based on attachment theory. Mm-hmm. It's not reporting what went wrong last week. And a lot of times couples counseling gets into that. And who wants to go just to rehash? He did, she did, all of that. We want to have a plan to heal the marriage and to move forward.
Susie, does this help you?
Yes, definitely. So I would love for them to go to D.C. I don't know how I could talk my son-in-law into doing that.
Well, if that divorce threat is still on the table, it could be tied to it. That's a leveraging point. So if you don't want to get divorced, this is one way to show me you don't want to. We go to this weekend together, and that gives me some hope that we can still work on our marriage.
And you can also say, aren't you tired of this? Aren't you tired of this? Aren't you tired of being mad all the time and, being unhappy? Let's do something to make a difference in our lives. I want that so much for them. And I would like to send them How We Love.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll send you a copy of How We Love, and you can pass it on to your daughter and your son-in-law. And the Intimacy and Marriage Intensive, as Becky said, is happening the weekend of July 25th in Washington, D.C. You can get all the details at newlife.com or by calling us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
And New Life has several interventionists. And so whether it's a family issue like this, verbal mistreatment, or one person struggling with addiction, our interventionists are highly trained and experts at helping the entire family come together to love, but also call up the person that's having that hurtful problem.
What are some of the signs of narcissism? And Susie mentioned that she noticed this in her future son-in-law while they were still dating. So what are some warning signs that people can look for if they're in a dating relationship? Is it always the right move to break up that relationship? What would you say, Becky?
Well, narcissism is tricky because they're very attractive. They're very engaging initially. I mean, literally, it's nobody falls in love with somebody who's yelling at them all the time. I mean, it just doesn't usually start out that way. But like I said before, it has to be diagnosed with the person who is exhibiting those features. And in this day and age, we have a lot more information than we ever have before. You can Google the word and you can find all the list of attributes that you'll see in a person with narcissistic personality disorder. But it doesn't always display it in a succinct way. It's usually over a long time. There was a woman who was married to a narcissist, and he was diagnosed, who what she couldn't figure out was, this push and pull. He was so dynamic. He was so engaging. And then the next minute, she was the worst person in the world. Mm. And so, I just think that if you're dealing with a relationship where you are less than the other person, you might be dealing with a narcissist. That's a very simplistic diagnostic measurement, but that's really how that can be. Because you can have somebody who's yelling at you and they're not narcissist. They're just hurting and they're in trouble. So it's good to look at the different features.
I want to be cautious about people applying the label narcissism because there's this misbelief that narcissists can't change. They're that way for life. If we look at a person as they're hurt and they don't know how to take care of and express their hurt in an effective way, that can be helped.
Yes. Give us a call. We'd love to help you at 1-800-229-3000.
Early on, looking at pornography that went into affairs, massage parlors, strip clubs with buddies. Before you know it, you're ashamed of that.
Every day, men struggle with sexual integrity, impure thoughts, strip clubs, affairs, pornography.
My wife got a phone call, and she asked me who this person was, and man, how do I get myself out of this one?
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle intensive.
When she said to me, I want you to look at this website named Every Man's Battle, she had me look, and I said, no, this is exactly where I need to be. This is exactly the problems I have, and I'm gonna go.
You don't have to struggle any longer. Get help in Denver, Colorado, June 6th through the 8th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to register or to find out more. 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found life recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are in the middle of a matching gift right now at New Life Ministries, up to $500,000. We're trying to reach that goal by the end of May, which starts tomorrow. But Becky Brown is with us. She's the president of New Life. How are we doing on our goal so far?
We are halfway there. We are at 266,000 plus, and you can add to that number. Every dollar that you give will be doubled up to that 500,000. And you know, what does that mean? That means that you're going to be helping people who are listening to this program. You're going to be helping us continue to do the ministry that has helped people for 36 plus years. We want to continue to offer insight. You know, it's amazing when you think about how impactful New Life has been over the years. We have testimonies of people's lives being changed. And just the other day on one of the shows, someone called in, and Brian, you asked, well, how did you hear about us? And she said, I turned on the radio. And I said, thank you, donors, because that is helping get the word out. There's somebody who is needing help. They hear that help is available, and they want to be part of, you know, a new life. They want their lives to change, just like the caller we just talked to with Susie. Family is hurting, and we want to be able to help people with godly counsel and insight, and we're here for it. So give today, and you can give any amount. Of course, we'd love, how about you finish it up so we could be 500,000 today, and we do it by the end of April. Is that asking too much?
Well, how about by the end of May?
Oh, no, I want it by the end of April. I mean, come on.
That's fine, too.
It's Alice's birthday. Give because it's Alice's
birthday. That's right.
birthday.
Let's do it for Alice. In fact, if there are 234,000 of you who can each give $1, we'll reach our goal by the end of the day.
I love that, Brian.
But of course, you know, that's...
And how should they give? How should they give, Brian?
3 ways. newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE or text the word MATCH to 28950.
Love it.
That's awesome. Yes.
And thank you in advance for giving, because I know you will.
Indeed. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call for the next 90 minutes or so as we take your calls about whatever it is that you're struggling with. And before the break, we were talking to Susie about narcissism, and Alice wanted to throw in a few other things.
Although I'm cautious to put a label on people as narcissistic, it is helpful to know what's the combination of symptoms or characteristics that make up a person we call a narcissist. And it usually includes a person who has trouble receiving criticism, would struggle to apologize and to acknowledge wrong, and really needs a lot of admiration and ego boosts. And so they feel safer staying in their good self. There are things that their strengths, the things that they're proud of. It's very difficult to be humble and to be in the side that has the shortcomings. But I truly think this is just part of the sanctification process that we all need to go through, because what I'm describing is emotional immaturity. And we all need to grow in being able to be humble, to apologize, to acknowledge, to be vulnerable. So people that are narcissists just have a much more difficult time doing it and can become abrasive when you try to get them to humility or apology. But honestly, all of us have some of that and need to grow out of it into what we call secure attachment, where we can do those things more readily.
Sounds good. All right. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call. Now, we mentioned the Intimacy and Marriage Intensive that's happening July 25th in Washington, D.C. There's a couple of other intensives. First of all, the Restore Healing After Betrayal Intensive begins this Friday. Is there still time for people to sign up? Awesome. Okay. They can do that online at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And this is an intensive for women who have been victims of betrayal by their husbands. And it's just such a great work that we do at New Life. So much that we do here at New Life. We even offer scholarships for people who can't afford the price. And that's one of the things that you help us with when you make a donation to New Life Ministries. Let's go to the phones now. Here is Kathy, who is listening in Seattle, Washington. And it says here, Kathy, you're a first-time listener. Hello. Welcome to New Life Live. How'd you find out about us?
Thank you. Actually, I was just trying to find another program and came across yours.
Well, we're very glad to have you, and that you had the courage to call the first time you've heard us, Kathy.
You don't even know who we are, but thank you so much for calling in today.
I know. I know, but I've lived a few days in my life here, so I'm getting more bold as I get older.
Well, we appreciate your call. How can we help you today?
Well, I was wondering if you could or knew of any support groups for satanic ritual abuse survivors.
What a question, Kathy. Why are you asking?
Because I am a survivor. And it's a long story. My life has been full of trauma, one after the other, but I was sold into a group, donated, written over, according to one of my family members, for ritual purposes when I was very young. And according to a law enforcement person that my husband and I visited in my hometown where this occurred, he said it wasn't just church leaders involved, it was community leaders as well.
So sorry, Kathy.
Would you tell us, how did you get out? And how do you have the inner strength to be able to speak like you are to a radio show today?
You know, this is the first time that I've done this. Excuse me.
So you've never had counseling, Kathy?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
I have. Since the 90s, my memories didn't really come. And I wanted to affirm the idea that when a person leaves, like you had a caller who said after her father died that she seems to be freer to get help. When I moved away from family and went into another state and didn't know anybody, my husband and I were there in a ministry, and it was like 6 weeks after we were there, I told my husband, I said, I feel like a bird let out of a cage. I have never felt such freedom in my life. And it was just like, oh, I could breathe and enjoy the scenery and the trees and the colors of the flowers.
Kathy, that move away from family was just essential to break free from that system. So you said you have gotten some counseling. Are you still in individual counseling, and now you're looking for a group? And so we'll speak to that too.
You know what I'm thinking?
Yes.
Go ahead, Kathy.
My counseling, I've had very few in-person counseling sessions. But back in the 90s, it was, I think, with the doctor that I know who is a Christian, and he was a head of a county's mental health and was an expert. But he currently is dealing with a possible cancer issue and is not able to help me. We have been corresponding via the phone.
So it's on hold. Your sessions are on hold, and you've never had any in person. I think you're right to want to find a group for this. And I didn't, before I heard your call, I didn't know of any in particular. But when I just looked it up, I found many different options, Kathy. But I do want you to be careful of what kind of group you choose. Becky mentioned our Restore Intensive, where we meet in small groups, but we also learn about how sexual betrayal affects us. Even though many of the people there, it's because of their marriage, and that doesn't sound like that's the case for you. So many of our women that come to the weekend have suffered childhood sexual betrayal. And I imagine that's part of what you went through. Our intensive, or that kind of longer-term intensive, where you're part of a group led by a certified counselor or coach. And from our weekend, we do the weekend, but then we launch into ongoing groups. And so I want you to have both, where there's an intensive in person, but then a long-term group afterwards, because the trauma, the abuse that you went through, as you know, probably needs an ongoing group of very safe women that you can connect to process it.
So, Kathy, here's what I want to suggest to you too. We're going to get you connected with a trauma-informed therapist. We've made a little bit of improvement since the 90s in the mental health field, thank God. And while your previous counselor has health issues, there's no time but the present to get started on your own healing journey. We know so much more about trauma and restoration and group processes. So, both can be helpful. I don't think it's one or the other, but I don't want you to wait. And I would love for you to be in person, and we can get you connected with a trauma-informed therapist in your area.
I really appreciate it, because it's affecting my health right now.
Yes.
Yeah. We've got to take a break now, Kathy, but thank you for calling in today here on New Life Live. 1-800-229-3000 is our number. We've got lots more calls coming up. Stand by.
Do you need help for life's hard situations?
My husband recently said he wanted a divorce.
I'm confused on what I should do.
I have an eating disorder.
New Life Live answers your questions on relationships, grief, addiction, trauma, anxiety, and much more, all from a biblical perspective with our panel of professional counselors and psychologists.
I learn a lot from your program. You help so many people.
I appreciate your ministry.
Whether you listen or watch, there are so many ways to connect with us to ask our panel of counselors a question. Call us Monday through Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific at 1-800-229-3000 to ask your question on New Life Live. Or go to newlife.com/radio for other ways to get your question answered.
I'm trying to find help.
I just want to know how to set boundaries.
If it's a sin, what am I supposed to do?
Need a therapist or a coach, a resource, or an intensive? Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Hey, Kathy, just for calling in today, we're going to send you a copy of the book, Forgiving What You'll Never Forget. It's available in the newlife.com store. Thank you so much for your bravery and for calling in today at New Life Live. 1-800-229-3000 is our number, and we've got more calls to get to. Right now, we're going to go to Philadelphia. Here is Mary, who's listening on WBYN. Welcome, Mary, to New Life Live.
Hi, thank you so much for all that you're doing. I listen, and I'm just so blessed just listening to you guys.
Oh, thank you for saying that, Mary. How can we help you today?
So I think, I'm not sure that, I've had a very, very rocky 15 years of marriage, 2 children, and my husband has been not diagnosed, but I feel he has some narcissistic traits.
Okay, your phone is kind of phasing in and out. I don't know what that might be, but...
if you can move around to try to get a better signal for us.
Yeah.
But keep going.
Okay, can you get me better?
Not yet, but keep talking.
How about now? Can you hear me better?
Yes,
that's a little better. Go ahead.
Okay. So at this point, he's pitching the children against me and, literally grooming them, and saying things to them. I'll give you an example. I had an issue. I had a medical issue that had medics come to the house and take me to the hospital, and he was making an example to my kids about that issue indirectly while I was there. So I've been experiencing issues like that here and there, financial issues. My question really is, I don't want my kids to grow up in a divorced home because I came out from a divorced home. But how can I, overcome this? Because right now, there's nothing I say that is right. There's no way I say it. I sound angry, and I don't want kids to see me as that angry mother. And, I just want to know what to do.
Gosh. Mary, it's a lot. Do you have anybody around you, sisters, friends, church family, that can offer you support?
My mom stays not so far away from me. She's like 45 minutes away from me, but I don't want to put down her. She's elderly. I don't want to make her carry that burden, so...
Well, I'm not talking about that.
I have my siblings. Okay.
I'm talking about somebody who sees you, who champions you, because what you've been dealing with is you are losing yourself to whatever is going on with your husband. When you say that he's pitting the children against you, I mean, that's not healthy. I don't care what label you put on it. But when you are isolated, that is a bigger problem as well, because then you have to constantly fight against this behavior towards you. And that's why I'm asking if you have friendships, if you have that kind of support around you.
I have a friend I just called. He's also, both of us, we were all friends before for years. So, and he's also, he knows my husband, they're friends as well. And then I kind of just talk to him and give it, let him know what's really happening. And he really gives me good advice.
Okay,
but then
but
I don't
Mary,
want to continue going there.
Right, but here's the problem. That's dangerous because he is a male and you're in a vulnerable situation. So here, I think a first step, I don't know if you've ever done counseling with your husband, because, we want to encourage that first because, we just said this earlier, but if you're feeling like there is hope, and I think there might still be, you're going to need help. It can't be just you and your husband because your husband will just override you. And so, I know I sound like a broken record, but I would love for them to go to Intimacy and Marriage just because it's really an opportunity to get in a place where you're supported, both of you, and to understand where did this come from? Because at one point you loved each other so much that you had cake together and said, I do. And now here we are, and he's being, he's bullying you, basically. It could be even considered abusive to have the kids go against their mother.
Bullying him.
Do what?
He thinks I'm the one bullying him.
Even more reason for the two of you to be with a therapist of some sort to get to the bottom of it. Alice?
Mary, your description of your marriage sounds to me as if your husband has kind of become the sumo wrestler in the household with all the power. And that's so frightening, especially when he's brought the kids over to his side. And I imagine you as like a skinny adolescent coming up against a sumo wrestler. He's got all the power. And so part of your process will be becoming aware of the power you still hold and learning how to use it in a loving, firm, confident, strong way. And that might include a couple of different things. If this is a change in his behavior, he changed for a reason, and he seems like he might actually be scared of you. Bullies often are scared. And either he's projecting onto you what he's doing to you, so he's accusing you of bullying, or he actually feels hurt by something you have done, and he thinks you hold a power over him. That's all mysterious to me. I don't know quite what it is. But I would want you both to explore.
Very accurate.
Oh, how so?
So he thinks that, there have been situations where I've had to scream because I just wanted him to get away from me. I'm asking, you're pulling money from our combined accounts to pay for a credit, but you don't want me to see the statement of account of the credit card.
So the way you're
my phone and started
Mary,
recording.
I'm going to interrupt. The way your righteous anger comes out does scare him, and you have every reason to be angry. But the style of your anger frightens him. I bet he had a parent who yelled and screamed. So what I would want a counselor to teach you is how to share your fear and hurt and anger with him in softer, gentler ways that he'd be better able to receive. So rather than accusing him of being the bad guy, even though he's doing some bad guy stuff, I would go to him with humility to say, you know what, I realized, I think I scared you when I screamed at you about finances the other day. How does it affect you when I'm angry? I think you feel bullied by me. Would you tell me about that? And the purpose is to just gather information and try to rebuild a little bit of trust. So as you learn to be assertive without being scary, you might have breakthrough with him. But the other side of boundaries is what we've been talking about with narcissism, which is also, I'm going to learn how to treat you better. I also don't want to be mistreated, and I don't want our kids to see this. So if either one of us are going into that old pattern, the other one has permission to name it and then walk away if we cannot stop. That combination usually helps to break through this cycle.
Yeah, and Mary, you're not going to do this on your own. You too have been trying to do this. You're going to need help, and we can get you to a counselor. We'll get you that help. But like I said before, the way that you're describing this, it's abusive for both of you. I mean, we don't want you to be out of control, and then if you're screaming, that means you don't feel like you're being heard. But you also don't trust him, and you're wondering, I want the truth, and there's just such an unequal yoke here, and we want it to be healed and we want it to be whole. Alice, what would you recommend as far as a book?
I'd say Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend.
Okay, we'll do that. Mary, thank you for calling in today. Don't hang up, and we'll send you a copy of Boundaries. And if you're on hold right now, we'll get to you in just a little bit, beginning with Michelle and Ladia. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call. We're going to be taking calls for another hour, and we would love to hear from you. Let's make some life change beginning today here at New Life Live.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.